And coming to the next, you can have wheat stitch. This wheat stitch, as the name implies, it looks like wheat actually. It can either be filling stitch or it can be used as an outline stitch. It is not mandatory, it should be started like this and ended like this and all for wheat stitch. You can start from anywhere from left to right or from right to left or from any of the both sides. It is your own flexibility to choose according to the directions. How you have to do is, let me teach you how you have to demonstrate or how you have to do your wheat stitch. So as I said, it is not mandatory, you have to start from left or right. It is your own opinion. Here I am going to start from left. So as usual, bring your needle towards the face side of your fabric. Like this, if you hold the thread with your left finger for few stitches of the few stitches of the embroidery what you are doing, it may get hold. So even though you pull your thread, it won't come out. So it is better to avoid doing knots while starting your embroidery, but while finishing your embroidery you can knot your stitches. And also I will show you how you have to finish your embroidery and do the knotting. For this wheat stitch, I am started with left. Make a slanting line. Now I am going for right side. Finish at the same point where you have completed your previous stitch, and from center take one more stitch and finish at the same point. The thing what you have to keep in mind is, now we have made three stitches at the same point. Wherever you have started, either from center, left or right from left, whatever it may be, you have to finish at the center point. The three stitches has to finish in single point. And decide the distance of the wheat what you want. Here I am leaving the distance as I want, and pull your needle towards your face side and wrap your needle between all these three stitches. I feel you understood. I have decided the distance and I brought the needle towards the face side of the fabric, and I have wrapped around all the three stitches which I made already, and I am pulling the thread and pierce at the previous stitch what you have made. This is what one wheat stitch has been framed. So for the next wheat stitch, as like previous one, start from the left, finish the previous wheat what you have done, go with the right side, finish at the same point, decide the wheat distance, wrap around the previously formed wheat. Clear? I am doing the second wheat stitch now. You have to wrap around the previously formed wheat stitch and left and right stitches, and bring your needle to the point where you have started and finish it off. We have framed the next wheat stitch. I hope you are clear. I will do few more wheat stitches to make you understand. Start with the left, finish the previously formed wheat, again start from left, finish at the same point where you have done with the previous one, and decide the distance of your wheat. See, you should be conscious about the distance. It is not like for one stitch you may leave the small distance, for next stitch, for the immediate next stitch for the same embroidery type you may leave long distance. It is not like that. If you prefer like that, your embroidery will not look good. So decide the distance once and proceed or follow the same thing for the entire embroidery. So wrap around the 3 stitches which you made already, pull your thread, pierce at the same point where you have done already, and bring it out. So we have made 3 wheat stitches now. Hope you understand the procedure. I will do it once again also. See, start from left, pierce at the same point, start from right, pierce at the same point, decide the distance of your wheat. See, I have given a equal distance for all the wheats. Wrap around the needle, wrap around the threads and pierce at the same point where you have started for the previous one. Fine, hope you understand the wheat stitch. This wheat stitch can either be used as an outline or as a main thing with the paddy and all. If you are motifs or like paddy stitches, you can do with this kind of wheat stitches also. And coming to the next, you have chain stitch. This chain stitch is purely can be used as both outline or filling stitch. As the name suggests, this chain stitch looks like a continuous chain, or it may looks like leaf petals after one another. It is all an imagination only. This chain looks like keeping leaves one after another, and also it also looks like a continuous chain that can be called as a chain stitch. This can be used as an outline or filling, and also this chain stitch when worked in very small distance adds beauty to your embroidery article. I forgot to show you how this back stitch and wheat stitch looks like. I will show you. See, this is what your back stitch. Here you should not leave any space between your stitches as given here. You are supposed to fill your entire motif without leaving any distance. So this is called as back stitch. Coming to your wheat stitch, this is what the entire wheat stitch looks like. See, as I said, you can prefer contrast colors according to the fabric color, and you can do the wheat stitches. This is what wheat stitch. Then I will demonstrate how to do your chain stitch, and I will show you how the stitch or the motif looks for the chain stitch. So as usual, bring your thread to the face of your fabric. See, for this chain stitch, decide the distance of your chain. It is not only for chain, for all kind of embroidery stitches, it is supposed to decide the distance. As I said, all the embroidery stitches looks beautiful if the distance are in small manner. Accordingly, for this chain, see, you have brought at this area, right? At that point, pierce, decide the distance and bring your needle towards the face of the fabric. See how I have brought it now, and wrap your thread once around your needle and pull your needle. We have framed one chain stitch. For doing your or to do the next chain stitch, you are supposed to insert in the previously formed chain, decide the distance, wrap your thread once around the needle, and you can pull your thread. So we have framed the next chain. You can know the difference now. See, for the first chain I have left a small distance, and for the chain for the second chain I have taken a little lengthier chain, which shows the difference in the stitch. So it is supposed to maintain the distance accordingly so that it adds beauty to your embroidery. So if you continue the same, you can get the chain stitch. I will repeat here. For doing your next chain stitch, you are supposed to insert in the previous chain, bring at the distance what you want, wrap the thread once around the needle and pull your thread. So if you continue the same, you can get your chain stitch accordingly. See, the entire chain stitch looks like that. This is what your chain stitch looks. I will show you how the chain stitch looks for the entire motif. So this is what your chain stitch. See, the person has preferred yellow color. It is a multicolor thread actually. It starts with light yellow and finishes with dark yellow color. See, the entire chain looks like this. As the name implies, it is a continuous stitch which forms the chain of the motif what you have preferred. This is all about chain stitch. Next, long and short stitch. This long and short is very simple. It is same like satin. Actually, it is the variation of satin stitch. As I said, to fill your satin stitch, what you will do, the entire, suppose this is the entire motif, you prefer from this edge to this edge covering your base fabric, you will do the satin stitches accordingly. This is what called as satin stitch, right? For this long and short stitch, for the same area, if you are filling one long stitch and one short stitch, one long stitch, one small stitch. If you continue this in a repetitive manner, this can be called as long and short stitch. It is actually a variation of long stitch. This can be preferred for dividing the motifs and doing. So it also creates one kind of different look. I will demonstrate how to do this long and short stitch. See, for this long and short, so decide the distance according to your motif. As I said, hold your thread. So suppose this is your motif area where you are planning to do your long and short stitch. First, initially take a long stitch. You may use two different colors also. For long stitch, you can prefer one color. For smart stitch or small stitch, you can prefer on color, that kind of color deciding and all, it is from your end. You can choose accordingly. See, you have given a long stitch. Again, you can divide off the length of the previous long stitch, and you can do your next short stitch. This is also important. You should not leave any space where the base thread has to be shown. It is not to be visible. See, I am doing in the same color, so you may feel the long and short stitches are not much attractive. I will show you the reference image, how the long and short stitch looks like. So this is what long and short. See, one long stitch, one small stitch, one long stitch, one small stitch. It is not compulsory to use the same stitch, and also it is not compulsory to follow a line procedure and all. Randomly you can do the long as well as short accordingly, according to the design what you have chosen. And let me show you how two contrast colors looks good for this long and short stitch. See, this long and short stitch, the person has filled with the contrast colors, and it is also very important to choose the combination of colors. She has preferred long black and red color for this long and short stitches. You may prefer two colors, but that two contrast colors should match accordingly. We may have some color combinations, right? Black and white, blue and white, with black and red. That kind of color combinations makes something good, right? According to that, you are supposed to choose for this kind of long and short stitches. Where you are preferring two colors in a single motif, you should be conscious in doing all your embroidery with contrast colors. So this is your long and short stitch looks like. And this long and short stitches can be used as filling stitch. This long and short stitch also takes more thread for doing your embroidery. According to the motifs you have chosen, you can divide the portion of your embroidery and you can prefer this long and short stitches accordingly. And coming to the next one, couching embroidery. For this couching embroidery also, it is mandatory to use two contrast colors. So as I said, for long and short stitch, it is also important to choose the contrast colors in a correct manner. The combination of color should be good to make your embroidery look more beautiful. It is important, right, to add beauty to the embroidery. It is important to choose your thread and fabric combinations, so that you are supposed to choose the two contrast colors accordingly. Let me show you how the couching thread embroidery has to be done. As I said, for this couching embroidery, you need two threads. See, I am showing all as an example. So this can be taken. The strands, as you people very well know, we have 6 strands in an embroidery thread. If you want to emboss the base thread, you can prefer more than 3 strands. Better, it is good to take 3 strands. So for this couching, you can choose the contrast color combinations. Here I have chosen a pink color. You have to hold your base thread with the base fabric. What you have to do is, you have to take immediate stitches from left and right to the base thread. See, I have holded the base thread here. I have taken a stitch immediately to the next of the base stitch, to the left side of the base stitch, and next I am doing at the immediate right of the base stitch. And I used to say it is very important to maintain a small distance for do your embroidery, right? For this kind of couching embroidery and all, you can maintain a longer distance so that your base thread will also be visible and your couching effect will also be visible. What you have to do is, you are supposed to hold the thread. I am using a smaller thread for the needle so that it is getting raveled. You can prefer a longer thread. Maintain a little longer distance. See, make your base thread be straight. So if you finish like this effect can be called as couching. You can know the base color is also visible and the couching thread is also visible, both contrast colors. And once you finish your couching, the thread should not come out, so that it is stick on to your embroidery fabric as like it is. So this is what couching embroidery. So I will show you the next embroidery as seed stitch. Don't get fed up for threading your needle. Actually, it happens, but it gets practice. So next what you are going to see is seed stitch. As the name implies, the stitches should look like seed. See, for seed stitch, the stitches should look like a dot. As the name implies, it should look like seed. It is not mandatory the seed stitches should be in a regular manner. You can also do it in a straight line according to how your design falls, or you can make the seeds to be in a random manner which looks more beautiful. Let me teach you how to do this seed stitch. So for doing this seed stitch, as usual, bring your thread towards the top of your fabric. So it is a small running stitch actually. It is very minute dot we have to make. See, this is a big one actually. This kind of small dots in a random manner can be used to make this kind of seed stitches. So if you do in this manner, this can be called as a seed stitch. You can prefer this kind of seed stitch to fill the motif, So this is can be used for filling motifs. I will show you how this seed stitch looks. See, the entire seed stitch the candidate has given with an heart shape. See, you can find the seed stitch in very minute manner. Very minute running stitches are actually seed stitch. You can make it in a random manner and also in an uniform manner. Here the stitches are given in a random manner. Hope you understand this seed stitch, how to do this seed stitch. So we'll see the next few more hand embroidery stitches in the next class. Thank you.